Homestead here today with another topic that I've been really wanting to talk about, and that is going to be night vision for SHTF/WROL. Now, right now I do know that a lot of people really don't like to think about night vision just because of the expenditure and cost, but I'm going to see if I can make a case for it, and I want to hear what you guys have to say at the end of the video. Now, first off, I'm just going to quickly touch on the just a little bit of the history of night vision. Pretty much the more primitive IR units were started by the Germans back in World War II, which were heavy, cumbersome. They required large illuminators to be pretty much carried around on flatbed trucks and were pretty much bullet magnets for the Allied forces to be able to take them out. And moving on now into more recent times like Vietnam with the Starlight scope, and now even to even more present times to where they've been used heavily in modern day operations in the militaries and law enforcement throughout the world, are now being able to be purchased and used on the commercial market, whether it be phones, camera adapters, or full night vision cameras, or even into hunting scopes and hunting optics for the use of sports as well. So right now the overall just growth of night vision in the past century has just been phenomenal in the amount of growth that it has been able to spur in its industry and also in the actual products themselves and the quality of them. Now I'm going to go on to pretty much what is night vision. Pretty much there's two types from what I've researched. There's pretty much your IR or infrared, and then there's going to be your thermal. Now the infrared pretty much takes the ambient light around you and increases the intensity of the light in the area and allows you to be able to see in the dark. Now it becomes much more difficult the much less light you have. So for example, you're going to be able to see much more clearly if you're in an open field and there's open moonlight than if you would be able to in a completely pitch black cave or sewer to where there is absolutely no type of ambient light whatsoever. But if you are in that type of situation, they do have different types of illuminators as well to be able to give you the ability to see in the dark without making yourself aware to everyone around you, as if you would be walking around waving a white light or trying to walk around with a torch or something like that. The biggest drawback with that is going to be that if somebody does see you if they have night vision and you put on a illuminator, you might as well be flashing a white light, because that's illumination sticks out like a sore thumb, especially the IR illumination between night vision. If you're out pretty much scouting a person's field line, and all of a sudden they see and they're pretty much using IR and using night vision as their own defense, all of a sudden you're popping up on using a illuminator, they're going to see you like a sore thumb even if it's hundreds of yards away. The next thing is going to be the thermal. Now what the thermal does is it pretty much allows you to see the heat signature and the energy of the things around you. So pretty much we've all seen different types of movies or video games to where you can see the thermal image of a person. Now what that does is that pretty much allows you to see what type of person or what type of thing is out there and the different types of heat signatures that they're releasing, but it does not always give you the best clarity, if you will, on everything in your surroundings. So it's good for spotting and detecting people, but it might not always be the best for actually knowing and moving throughout your surrounding areas. So you just kind of have to base on what you want out of your night vision and what you want to invest in the money, because IR illumination is going to be much less than thermal illumination if you take a look at it from the basic scales on what you're actually putting in for what you're getting out. The next thing is going to be the different types of night vision. Right now there's kind of a couple of different types. There's pretty much your handheld option, something like this right here, this Armasight Prime 3. It's just something you can pretty much use in your hand. A lot of them do have the option of being able to mount to a helmet or to a rifle, but for the most part some of them are a little bulkier and you might not really need to want to mount it to a helmet. Like this one right here is a fixed 3 power, so it's much more suited to being used as a handheld unit. And a lot of your thermal units are going to be handheld as well, especially in the use of observation. What's next is going to be helmet mounted, something like this right here, where the unit is actually mounted to the helmet, and that allows the user to be able to flip it up or down, as you can see right here, and be able to move around pretty much very easily and still be able to fight while maintaining the use of their night vision. So helmet mounted are going to be some of your more favorites, especially when it comes to being able to be used in the field and moving about in the dark. Then there's going to be weapon mounted, and this is going to be primarily more geared toward weapon mounted optics are going to be much more geared towards very specific use, whether it be hunting at night or whether it be surveillance type thing where you might need to actually engage a target at night and you already have yourself pre-set up in your location, because trying to move around while aiming through your optic to try to use that as some type of pathfinder isn't going to work out very well for you. Especially when it comes to things that are going to be at your feet, things that you can't see, are really restricting the view of your actual self with looking through a optic or even through standard night vision, which is why you tend to take a little bit more time moving about using your night vision, but it also allows you to maintain a much more lower profile while doing it. The last one is going to be more of your stationary units, and what do I mean by stationary units? It's going to be something that's not going to be very man portable. For example, maybe a security system mounted to a house, maybe a night vision system mounted to a plane, or a night vision system or thermal system mounted to some type of surveillance van. Just something you're not going to be able to pick up into a pack and very easily use to move about on foot. Now, what are some of the advantages that a night vision unit brings to a group or to a prepper themselves? One of the biggest things, in my opinion, is going to be observation, especially when it comes to your group's security at night. If you're only being able to be used in pretty much daytime capabilities, to where you can only really heavily fight and work it during the daytime without being able to see what's going on around you, without being able to properly watch with around you using your night vision security system, which is something that I do a lot with my security job. We have a lot of night vision cameras that we have for the plant and that we have to look through and monitor things through. If we did not have those, there would be a heck of a lot of blind spots to our plant, and on top of that, there would be a heck of a lot of blind spots to those and their prepper compounds as well. So even if you are able to pretty much monitor and do a small foot patrols and everything of your homestead, you might not know that there's a whole group of people moving across the field. Even if it's just a semi-cloudy night, it's not that very easy to sit there and be able to pick out stuff, especially if they're moving very slowly, if they're keeping to the shadows and everything else. So, which is one of the things that they had in Vietnam, which is why they started rolling out the starlight optics, because the low light jungle environment, it really restricted the soldiers' ability to see at night. Now, the next thing is going to be patrolling. Now, whenever you're out on a night patrol, or it might be there's something happens to where you're actually having to fight and engage on a patrol at night, which could very well happen, especially if you have one of your signal alarms go off, or something happens, maybe some of your cattle are being spooked or something like that, to where you don't want to give your position away to the possible enemy by walking out there with a red headlamp on or some type of flashlight or lantern. So you break out the night vision to be able to move about and to be able to go to your location and to see what's going on around your camp, around your compound, or around your homestead without giving away your location. So, and then the last thing is going to be kind of a conglomerate of all of it. It does allow you night vision, rather than just be observation and patrol, is it also gives you that just a little bit of extra sense of security, especially if you have a night vision camera system for a security system, to be able to, with much less manpower, be able to cover much more ground, especially at night, because of the primary of the enemy attack, especially when it comes to a raid on you. The best chance of doing it is going to be right after dusk or right before dawn. Pretty much the time where your day shift and your night shift are just getting up to being able to switch off. People are just going to bed. They're all groggy after a long day's hard work. So they're not going to be as mentally acute as they would be in the middle of the day. then the flip side, it goes on to in the early morning when your night shift is really tired, your morning shift that's going to be coming over for security, and the people that are just getting up to start their jobs in the morning are going to be really groggy and everything. So all of a sudden now they're being attacked in the early mornings. There's another thing. And those are primarily if you want to still have some type of really good ambient light, but still want to have a more groggy enemy, if you will, if you were on the attacking side. So that's why having some type of security system installed that can allow you to see maybe some type of enemy advancement onto your compound, or maybe able to just analyze what's going on around you. And pretty much the last point, I already touched on it before, is going to be the hunting aspect of being able to go out, operate, and hunt at night, especially if you don't want to give away your position during the day, and you also want to kind of maintain that low profile so you're not trying to drag a full-on deer or a boar or something like that through the woods in the open daylight, where all somebody has to do is pop you with a SKS in the back, and then they can take your game, take your rifle, and then leave. You have that just a little bit of extra sense of security by being able to move around in the dark unopposed, for the most part, unless your actual enemy has night vision as well. Now, what are some of the disadvantages of night vision? Well, the one thing is, especially if you aren't really heavily acute into using night vision like myself, I haven't got a chance to use it a lot. So being able to transition to go from doing stuff during the daytime to switching over to using night vision at night is not going to be the easiest task. You actually have to get out, practice it a lot, and be able to get used to using it a lot, especially in tight spaces and indoors. Because you have to remember, you're looking through a very small field of view and a very small camera angle to where you might not see something that's at your foot. So you have to move a little bit slower and not rush yourself, because you can lead to injury that way. The next thing is going to be they require batteries. And I know that a lot of you that are preparing for an EMP type situation, you're going to want to have something that's going to be EMP proof, which night vision might not be the best option. And then the last thing is going to be the capability of the cost. And what I mean by that is that night vision is not the cheapest thing in the world. And I'm just going to show you guys an example. This right here is pretty much a rifle setup for use with night vision. This night vision unit right here, the whole setup cost about, with the helmet, the IR light on the side, and the actual unit and mount, cost about $800, and that's on a cheaper end. Like, all of this is kind of finagled together. This one right here was bought used, so that was only $100. The actual unit was $600, being the Armorlight Spark Core, being just a Gen 1 Plus unit, and the helmet itself is a refurbished CBC helmet that I kind of put the arc rails, the mounted everything on there to be able to be used at night as a helmet for the night vision. Then one of the things you're going to have to use is you're going to have some type of aiming laser to be able to properly aim your night vision during the night. And then if you do not have a proper unit like a Gen 3 or a Gen 2, which have much better resolution, much better light pickup, to where you're not going to be able to need a IR illuminator for most of the time. But if you don't, you might have to have an IR illuminator as well, like this flashlight here from Surefire, which switches from white light to IR. So there's a lot of extra costs, especially with this unit right here and this unit for the flashlight and the D-ball being just a little bit under $900. And right there, that's a huge expenditure even for a budget setup. So what does that really do for you is that there's a lot of extra costs you're having to put into that. A lot of people don't want to even put $500-600 into their primary rifle because they're trying to be stuck on a budget, and they have their actual financial constraints. So being able to blow all of that extra money on night vision units and everything, the lasers, the lights, and all of that might not be beneficial to them, especially if they haven't well rounded out their preps already. So I really want to hear what you guys think. Do you guys think that the overall cost of night vision kind of has the betterment of the outcome, or if you guys think that the cost kind of overpowers the actual capabilities that you're getting from your night vision? I really want to hear from those of you that haven't really run it, or I want to hear from those of you that have run it a lot, maybe some of those in military or law enforcement that have run your night vision very well have used the PVS 14s and realized that they're like $3,000 plus units depending on which one you get. So there's going to be added cost to it, but it gives you a much better effects, especially at night, for your capabilities and operations. So I really want to hear what you guys have to think. I really appreciate you guys watching, and just looking forward to reading the comments, especially since this is such a lightly touched upon topic, especially in the prepper community, because of the actual expenditure costs that you're having to put out to get a night vision unit. So thank you. I really appreciate you guys watching. Prepper 003 out, and remember, those that prepare for today survive tomorrow.